Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Monday, July 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. Heidrich, Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Patke, Pettit,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Scornia,
Here.
Sullentrup,
Here.
Wessels. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated July 6, 2021? Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Pettit,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Scornia,
Yes.
Sullentrup, Wessels.
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Sullentrup, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated July 6, 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? By your votes, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the collector's report summary for April 2021 and the investment report summary for April 2021.
Are there any questions on those items?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Sullentrup, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Priority items, mayor's presentations, appointments and reappointments, police department reappointment.
This evening in your packet is the reappointment of Eric Dobelman
Yes.
as a detective.
Detective Eric Dolan. He worked with the city 11 years and then went to our industry and then came back. And in the time he's been back, he's been doing well. So he went from a road officer to a detective. So, and as a detective, he is handling a lot of the drug cases which Nathan Pinter used to handle and is doing an excellent job.
Good.
So I would ask that you reappoint him for another year.
Are there any questions or comments?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the reappointment of Detective Eric Dobelman to the Washington Police Department, and that will be, as usual, a one-year term.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approved the reappointment. Thank you.
Council.
Special police appointments.
This is for the fair. Every year we have outside agencies, officers that we bring on to help us work the fair. This year's been a little bit slim. In 2019, the last fair, we had 17 on the list. Today we have 8. That has caused us to look at the fair schedule and look at planning for scheduling a little differently. The officers will have to work more overtime. We've changed how we're going to work hours with the road and things. These 8 are much needed. They will be there mainly on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 of them on Thursday for the 38 special concert. But they help supplement us and give us the manpower we need to handle the large crowds. And we are expecting a record crowd this year.
Chief, what would the difference in hours? You say in 19 you had 17 officers and now we have 8. So what will be in the total hours in the 2 years comparison? So in other words, how many more hours are you having to pick
Well,
up?
usually we'd have a dozen on a Saturday or Friday. Now the max we'll get is 9, or some of them can't make it every day, so we make it 8. So 8, between 8 and 12 is 4 times 25, now it's 30, so we could get more interest in, but $25 an hour for 8 hours times 4. That's the difference you save over last year. But our officers are gonna have to work more overtime.
Exactly.
They get paid more in overtime, so it's gonna cost more that way.
And the fair does reimburse those costs, correct?
Yes.
So it would be reimbursed. Does anyone else have questions of Chief?
Make a motion to
Second.
approve it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to approve the officers as special police officers for the Washington Town and Country Fair. James Cross, Darrell Floyd, James Gensler, Nicholas Manhart, Christopher Neese, Andrew Rosencutter, Gage Turk, and Bren Finley.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By
Thank
your
you.
vote, you approve the appointments.
Thank you. And I've also told the fair that there's some details they've given us before that they will have to have security handle instead of a police officer, so that we have the personnel we need on the grounds to deal with the crowd. So, just to let you know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Washington Tax Increment Financing Commission reappointment.
Also in your packet tonight is the reappointment of Bridget Kelch to the Washington Tax Increment Finance Commission. That would be in a term that would expire in 2023. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to approve the reappointment of Bridget Kelch to the Washington Tax Increment Financing Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve that reappointment. Thank you.
Public hearings, special use permit 309 and 317 Locust Street.
Good evening, council. So this is another request for a special use permit for short-term lodging or Airbnbs. It's two properties at 309 Locust and 317. So this is third and fourth street here in the block right in between. The properties are zoned, that to click next, I think I have it plugged in. R2 overlay, and so they are outside of the downtown district, requiring the need for this special use permit. And on the next slide, you can see, oh, I'm sorry, go back, John. Oh, you can just barely see it here. So there are a number of other, these yellow dots, I need to enlarge them next time, but there is a short-term lodging Airbnb just on the corner up here on 2nd Street. There are three 2 blocks away on Marquardt, and then there's one over here on 4th Street. So there's a number in the vicinity as well. This did go to planning and zoning last week and passed unanimously. So we sent out letters to everyone within 185 feet and did not receive any complaints.
Weren't those, wasn't that a
Bed and breakfast.
bed and breakfast before?
309 has record of being an Airbnb, but I didn't find the actual ordinance approving it, so I didn't know if it was grandfathered or not. And our code requires anything that's been, if a grandfathered use is discontinued for 2 years, it has to come back into conformance. And so the easiest way to cover all the bases was to make sure, just to have it apply, since 317 was already applying, just have them both apply at the same time.
Thank you.
When did that ordinance change? Do you know, or,
I couldn't tell you, nope.
okay.
What ordinance are
Oh,
you?
well, he was talking about, or the,
Whenever we had first adopted that short-term lodging, yeah.
when we adopted short-term lodging, I wonder what
You had a bed and breakfast provision in place before the major 2017 code changes, but typically prior to that time, it was typically you had to have an occupant that was there who lived there to be more of a bed and breakfast. Now with Airbnbs and the code change, we allow that with the special use.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
All right, thank you.
This is a public hearing, so is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this item?
Thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion, accept in the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you accepted the item. Thank you.
An ordinance granting a special use permit to utilize 309 and 317 Locust Street as a vacation rental in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. So this is the ordinance that follows the preceding item. Any questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance granting a special use permit to utilize 309 and 317 Locust Street as a vacation rental in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Wessels,
Aye.
Pettit,
Aye.
Scornia,
Do you need my vote for this to pass? I'd like to abstain on this.
No.
guess
You
that depends on the vote.
you should abstain, probably.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Holtmeyer,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Sullentrup.
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Citizens' comments?
Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on any item that is not on the agenda? Okay.
Report of department heads?
I do have a number of items here. Quick
you.
update. High Street, the High Street project overlay, the addition of a sidewalk from 100 to High Street. That project did start today. They were doing some excavation removal work. That will be ongoing. We have notified them of the fair schedule. They're aware of that. We've identified some side street staging areas for equipment. We don't anticipate any issues. They will not be milling the pavement during the fair time. So all the work will be kind of done outside the back of curb at this time. So just as an update there, if you have any problems or you see any issues, just make sure you give me a call so we can get those addressed, get them off to a good start. Compost Center, we did open that up for Sunday and Monday. Those were last Sunday and Monday. That was a one-time deal due to the storm event that occurred Saturday morning. We did have a lot of people utilize that. So thanks to Councilman Sullentrup, I think you brought that to our attention a few meetings ago, actually, to look into doing that during those rain events. We'll continue to monitor those type of events moving forward and make a decision on opening or not during those off hours in the future. So that was kind of a one-time deal. Thanks everyone for utilizing that.
John, how did you communicate that other than social media? It wasn't just social media?
We did do just social media. So we're trying to get the word out. In the future, we could do Code Red. Quite honestly, at the time, we're kind of scrambling for manpower. So I was trying to manage it a little bit by not having an influx of people, but we did have a lot of people utilize it. So
Must have worked.
yeah, so we can do a little better on that, but at the time, we thought that was good enough.
I think we got a lot of people participating, so word
Yeah.
got out.
We did.
Awesome.
Was that? Oh, sorry. And then Meadow Lake, quick update on Meadow Lake Farms. The water connection, city-supplied water will occur Wednesday at 11 a.m. That's the schedule we're looking at. We did notify the subdivision late this afternoon, and the Code Red did go out at 5 p.m. today to the residents that are signed up. I think there's 156 in Meadow Lake subdivision signed up, 156 phone numbers. So we do believe that will go relatively well. We don't anticipate any issues. There may be a time where water, we'll have to shut water down to some of the residences and those things, but we do anticipate to be pretty quick, in terms of a half hour to 60 minutes. So, and if you have any questions, I can address them.
Does anyone have any questions of John? Okay. Anyone else have something, department heads?
We're good.
Okay.
Ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a master equity lease agreement together with a medium-duty and heavy-duty insurance addendum to master equity lease agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Enterprise FM Trust.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
So item 7A, the first one is the lease agreement. Item 7B, which follows, is the maintenance agreement for the same vehicles. You have a letter within your packet from Mary Sprung explaining it. The one thing I would amend that letter to reflect is we're going to have 14 vehicles rather than 13. The Parks is going to be adding a 1-ton dually to that list as well. And so that's the only amendment that I have for you to that letter. But everything else that she explained is what's before you.
Any questions or comments?
And Ryan and Tim with Enterprise are here in case you have any questions from Enterprise.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here. Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a master equity lease agreement together with a medium-duty and heavy-duty insurance addendum to Master Equity Lease Agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Enterprise FM Trust. Wessels?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Yes.
Solentrep?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a maintenance agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc.
Omar.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. Any questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a maintenance agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc. Wessels? Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Yes.
Solentrep?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a depository contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Bank of Franklin County.
Solentrep.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup.
So this is the annual depository contract that is before you tonight. There is a little bit, this is the first that I'm aware of in the city's history, what we've done. The Finance Committee reviewed the submittals that were given to the Finance Department. Two banks that were very competitive, both Bank of Franklin County and Bank of Washington. Bank of Franklin County is our bank of deposit. This past year, as a matter of fact, I think they've been our bank of deposit for the last 10 years. But as a result of our Finance Committee meetings, what we did was we're looking at breaking this into two separate ones. The one before you tonight is for the depository contract, and that would be up to $5 million, as explained in Mary's letter that she provided with you. That would keep our ledger, our day-to-day operations, et cetera, all of that stuff would still remain with Bank of Franklin County. The investments, which are above and beyond that, now we're working a deal to where the Bank of Washington would go ahead and provide, we could go ahead and invest with them. They've got a higher interest rate, which she indicated within the letter. I think it's up to 0.51, I think was the, if it's in here somewhere, I'm
Yeah,
trying to look,
that
I
was
think
it.
it's what it was. And so we may need to be bringing that back to you for that portion of the contract, but they both banks worked in tandem in the best interest of the city, so really it's a win-win for the city. We're getting better interest on our bigger investments, and then our day-to-day stuff is still going to be with Bank of Franklin County.
Darren, I just wanted to add, it was very impressive because I really believe Bank of Franklin County really took some steps forward to help us out. They, the way the thing was going, it looked like they could have received the whole thing. And they just, and in fact, the statement made by Becky Boer was that, she thinks it would be in the best interest of the city if we broke the thing and gave the upper end to the Bank of Washington because of a different interest rate. Didn't have to do that, really.
No.
It was very impressive, I thought, and people were just kind of, whoa.
I agree with you, Mark. It was very impressive, and it was just kind of showed the quality of people that we have on that committee, because they were really struggling with the decision. And it was really certainly worth the time that we've invested in the meetings with that committee. And
Yeah, this is
well,
the first year for the committee.
it's a brand-new committee, first year, and then we have another meeting next month. So we're meeting 3 months in a row here, but it was impressive.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I wonder what they're going to do.
They're very close bids, they're very competitive between the two. And as Mark said, if this would have been business as usual, Bank of Franklin County would have the whole entire thing. But we're going to be getting a higher interest rate than from Bank of Washington on our investments, so.
Very good. Okay, ready?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a depository contract by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Bank of Franklin County. Wessels?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Solentrep?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Item 7D has been tabled. I just need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Pettit, seconded by Sullentrup to table item D. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, that item is tabled. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with HDR Engineering, Inc. for engineering design services for the Jefferson Street Roadway and ADA compliance project and amend the 2021 budget.
Sullentrup.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup.
Okay, council. Earlier this year, the engineering department sent out an RFQ for design services for the specified project. This is an STP project, Jefferson Street overlay, reconstruct from 100 to 5th Street. We'll get new curb and gutter, new sidewalks, and then a sidewalk added, we believe, on the west side of Jefferson from essentially the bridge to Highway 100. That's currently where we think it's going to go. That is subject to change with a survey, but we believe that that's the best location for it to go. So in that, these are $80-$20. Local tax base pays 20 cents on the dollar to get these jobs done. With that, HDR was the most submitted the most qualified, SOQ for the project. So the design fees, $266,491.88. It is a $1.4 million project is what we're anticipating. That does have construction services as well, so testing, those type of things are all included. It will require approximately 40 to 45 property owners to get easements and title work and similar things such as Fair Street, which that can be a tedious item as well. So all that work is included within their proposal. It's a not to exceed number, so whatever hours they put in to get the job done is what we pay them for. So this is the first step. Once this gets approved, it goes to MoDOT for approval, and then we can kick them off on survey.
Did you say the 80-20?
80-20.
Okay.
What
Yes.
year construction?
2024, I believe. It's a little ways out.
Yeah.
Jefferson was overlaid 2009, maybe?
Eight? I
Eight?
think.
Yeah, there you go, 8, 9.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to take some extensive milling if you've paid attention when you're driving on it. It's got a large crown in it, so there's a lot of work that's going to have to be done to get this thing, back to the shape it really needs to be in. So we're just going to take advantage of that. And
John,
Do it right.
your estimate for the construction part is 1.4?
1.4.
Okay, so, and that's not any of this,
Cor-
that's after all of this?
Well, the SDP was put in at 1.2, okay? But we do believe there's going to be some additional work kind of around the bridge with some of the side streets. I'm trying to take advantage of as much of the $80-$20 as I possibly can. So I do anticipate there will be some ads as we kind of move forward just to get for the grade tie-ins and whatnot. 1.4 does include this number.
Oh,
Sorry.
so that's kind of the bulk of it, isn't it, this piece?
This is a large chunk of it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next ordinance, and we can get to that, but it all kind of plays in. I'm also having them look into doing an intersection improvement at Jefferson and 5th. I do not believe at the southeast corner of the intersection that we can meet ADA because the building's set at 0 lot line. I don't think we can do that. So I'm going to increase the survey area and then have them do some preliminary design work to see if we can actually shift the center line of the intersection to the west. So where the city's got the little plaza here, we would take that right turn lane and actually go into that plaza a little bit, shift the entire intersection to the west to see if we can improve those turning radii around the intersection. That is not 80-20 at this time. We are going to petition MoDOT to incorporate that as 80-20, just so I can get this ADA part of that. But that could be a pretty big project, but it's a pretty good, I think, improvement to the intersection too. So I'm going to have them, when they're doing the work, design that as well. And then we'll put some estimates together, see what the cost is, to see if we can afford the construction of it. If we cannot afford the construction of it, then the design is done. We can do that at a separate time with a separate project. But I think now is the time to at least look
Is
into
that
it.
going to consist of buying part of D&M? Or is there a big enough easement?
It would. Yes,
An intersection sucks.
it would. I mean, it's as tight as it can get right now.
It is right up there.
Sign an easement, we'd have to purchase an
We
easement.
would have to acquire right of way to make that happen.
Yeah, I think you'd have to acquire right away and probably maybe a construction easement, we just wait to
You,
decide.
you have, yeah, it's hard for me to answer that, but right-of-way acquisition will have to occur.
It's a good idea.
Construction most likely. You could also maybe look at utility burials at the intersection. If you've seen the past couple of years, that utility pole's been replaced twice. That's a major utility pole to City Hall. So I'm working with Ameren to try to get all that stuff underground. So, I mean, it'll be a pretty big overhaul, but I think it's worth it to take advantage of this and to see if I can get some of that taken care of. It was not, though, included originally in that the original STP. So we'll have to make a decision, do we pay 100% of that, or look at some other funding opportunity once the design kind of progresses. And we could shut that design down whenever we want. Again, it's a not to exceed. So if it looks like it's not going to work out, I can just kill it.
Yeah.
And then we don't spend that money on unnecessary design. That's the two ordinance that you're going to hopefully approve.
Good.
Appreciate you looking into it, because
Terrible.
that's a tough intersection.
It is.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with HDR Engineering, Inc. for engineering design services for the Jefferson Street Roadway and ADA compliance report and amend the 2021 budget. Wessels?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a supplemental contract with HDR Engineering, Inc. for engineering design services for the Jefferson Street Roadway and ADA compliance project.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
And this is the supplemental to the original STP with the intersection that we want to look at. So,
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a supplemental contract with HDR Engineering, Inc. for engineering design services for the Jefferson Street Roadway and ADA compliance project. Wessels? Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed? Sullentrup?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
thank you all.
An ordinance amending Schedule I, speed limits, Table IA, generally of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Okay, within your packet, you will see that we are requesting, this did go to Traffic Committee, but we're requesting to limit the speed limit from the standard 25 miles per hour on Main Street, from High Street to Teeman Drive. It's the area, if it's just to the west of High Street, it's just a little stub street that kind of connects the two. We had some citizens come in and were concerned about speed on the area. They wanted to look at doing stop signs to make Teeman and Main Street a four-way stop. We do not put stop signs in to control speed. Stop signs are not a speed control item, even though inherently they do. They're not meant to control speed. So we looked at the roadway a little bit closer. It is 30 foot wide, so it is fairly narrow. We do have precedents to limit speed limits on narrow streets from 25 to 20. This also then will become a signed speed limit sign. Our standard 25 mile per hour speed limit across the city does not get signed. Speed limits that are above 25 get signed with a 30 mile per hour sign, or 35 or 40 or whatever they are. And below them also get signed. But the standard speed limit sign of 20 miles per hour does not get a speed limit sign. Okay? So this will then inherently get one placed on the street, hopefully to assist with some of the speeding through the area.
So this is just for one block.
Yes. One block. It's kind of a through street. As you're going eastbound, it does not get a stop. So, their concern was people are just going up the hill quickly. We did do a speed study. We did not see that to be a major, concern to where, we would do some, major infrastructure changes to it. But with the narrowness of the street, I think it does make some sense to sign it and try to slow speed, just letting people know what the speed limit
You
actually
say
is.
there's not a stop sign going east?
There's not.
There's not. It's a three-way stop, and it's
Team
pretty
at
much
stop?
designed that
Well,
way.
Teeman, not at High Street.
Teeman gets, southbound and northbound
Right.
Teeman get stopped, okay?
Yeah.
And
Westbound Main.
westbound Main gets stopped, but eastbound does not.
We had two vehicles parked there tonight. They had put cones out so the vehicles don't get hit. When there's two, one on each side of the street, it's pretty dang narrow. Is there any indication that we're going to widen that in the future with curb and gutter on the other side?
Not at this time. I mean, the city's policy has been, and just so we're all aware of this, is curb and gutter is paid for by the owners of the property that it's in front of. So when you put in a new subdivision, for example, the developer pays for that curb and gutter, which then inherently gets passed on to the buyer of the property. This is the same, we had this on 6th Street, the dead end of 6th Street, 4 or 5 years ago. Another bigger one would be Meadow Lake Farms would be one that we'd have to, contest with. So there are areas within the city that are not curb and guttered. Now, if and I did tell this to the property owners, if they wanted to come together and have us design it and build it, and then we would issue a special tax bill to them to pay for that, I would definitely entertain that. I did let them know that, but I've not heard anything back from them.
Okay.
But historically, we've not done that. Now,
John,
that's-
did the traffic committee look at limiting parking to one side?
We did not. We can do that. I don't think people park on the south side anyway.
I don't think they do very much
Yeah, I
either,
don't-
We can
but
do
Joe just
that.
brought that up.
It did today, and when Fisher's brings their tractor trailers down there to turn around, it
Causes some issues.
caused some issues.
We did, I know Officer Grissom did, or Sergeant Grissom did reach out to Fishers, and they can travel Maine to get to their truck deliveries. They have issues backing into their docks and stuff. So they've asked them, to slow down and be more aware of things, those type of things. But to limit it, we don't have a whole lot of tools in our
Well, I
tool belt to do
don't
so.
want to limit them, I'm just saying that if somebody parks on the other side,
We could look at doing no parking, no problem looking at that.
Like I
Makes
said,
sense.
I rarely see cars parked there, but with it being 30 feet wide, if you wanted to, that'd be a way to.
Our new code does allow for 30-foot wide streets being constructed new, but it requires one side of the street not to be parked on.
That's right.
So, again, precedence is good. I just don't know if
there
they're,
wasn't that many residents before, but now there's going to be 3 new resident homes, and
it's very true.
Be worth the
We can do that as well.
traffic committee looking at it.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't even think about that one. The speed limit, though, is what we're looking at here, and again, there's precedence for that, and I do think that makes some
Yeah.
sense, because then at least you get a speed
Yes.
sign.
but anything's better than nothing.
Okay.
An ordinance amending Schedule I, speed limits, Table IA, generally of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Wessels?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Yes.
Solentrup.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank
An ordinance amending Section 390.010 and Table X1-A of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri.
So,
Introduced by Councilman Solentrup.
Hold on one second. I didn't have this one. Can't find my notes. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Sorry. Do you have your packet pulled up?
I do.
Mind if I look at that real quick? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just have that one pulled up. Okay. Okay, yes, I remember now. Sorry. So this is an amendment to the truck routes, truck route ordinance. I think I brought this to your attention a few meetings ago, but there are signs scattered that have no trucks on various streets downtown and across the city. They're old signs. I believe the history of them is we used to have truck routes actually identified, and no truck routes is identified on every single street. That since was changed, that would allow you, if you want a delivery, if you wanted to deliver to a business, you could travel on streets that were labeled as no truck signs or truck routes to deliver your goods to that business. I think what happened is we didn't actually go through and remove some of those signs. So there were, pick a number, 45, 50, 60 signs that were in need to be replaced because of just the reflectivity of them. Tony brought to my attention, I asked the question, why do we need them in the first place more than anything? Technically today, there are only 3 truck routes in town. It is Highway 47, Highway 100, and East 5th. Those are the only truck routes that are in town, okay? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the way it is. So what we're doing is we're looking to add Highway A to that. I think that makes some sense. And then Bluff Road, Vosbrink, and Westlink in the industrial park. And again, I think that makes some sense as well. But it also has a provision in there that the only signage that will occur is on streets that intersect truck routes themselves will have no truck routes. Once you are inherently in the area where no trucks occur, the side streets off of that do not get signed. For example, Highway 100 at High Street. 100 is a truck route, High Street is not. It will get a no truck route sign, okay? But once you're on High Street, 14th Street will not get a sign because you're inherently already in a no truck route area. Does that make sense? So what we're trying to do is provide some clarification in the code of where truck routes get signed and where they don't. Another example is West Main off of West Link. It was never signed as no truck. We would get various trucking companies in the industrial park would go down Front Street, okay? Now it's signed as no trucks because West Link is a truck route. It's the first street that deviates off a truck route. What it does is just provide some clarification how to put signs up and helps with the police at least identify some of these truckers that are operating on our side streets that shouldn't be. It's kind of confusing, but that's the best way we could figure out how to do it.
We had a lot of those signs put up years ago when we had probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 streets
All
in town
kinds.
that were truck routes. And again, I think I've told you before, but the history behind it was, back in the day, if you were declared a truck route, before the days of our transportation sales tax, you could go ahead, if the city would improve your street, each property owner would be assessed based on street frontage. And so once we got the transportation sales tax, we no longer needed that. But at the time, if you were declared a truck route, you were not assessed the improvements. And so therefore, we had there's a lot of politics that went on to try to go ahead and get your street declared or somebody's street declared a truck route so you wouldn't have to go ahead and get
You
assessed.
have to pay for it.
That's right.
Pay
So
for it.
therefore, then you had all of these other signs that are out there all over town, and so really makes no sense to have that many signs saying, oh, by the way, this is not a truck route. So,
Chief, do you have a lot of citations for truck routes?
Simply because of the ambiguity of truck route, because there's signs out that say no truck route, signs that say truck route. They need to all come up and be redone.
And that's what this tries to
We
address.
have contacted companies though and advised them.
can you speak it to the mic, Chief? Can you speak it to the mic so I can hear you better?
And we have contacted trucking companies that have advised them that is not a truck route, don't go through there again. An example would be West Main, a certain business that likes to use West Main, or Front Street rather. But Studerman Road's another good example. It's a cut through for a lot of people.
And with this, Studerman will then be signed as no truck route, which again, hopefully gives the tools.
Unless they have delivery.
Unless they're,
Unless they have delivery, that's correct.
so then we'll start issuing some summons probably.
And just to clarify, you mean delivery on Studerman? Is that the that's the distinction?
Or side streets.
Our
that-
side
Okay,
street off of
That's
there.
only accessible by.
Like you're going into Cricket Creek, et
Got it,
cetera,
okay.
something.
You
like
couldn't take 47 to Studerman to A to go to Chamber Drive.
You're not passing through. It's no longer cut through for trucks.
Correct.
Would like a FedEx truck be considered in that?
They would be delivery most of the time. So if they're coming to a neighborhood, they're usually doing a delivery. I mean, they're not up.
UPS and FedEx.
UPS,
Yeah,
FedEx.
they're okay.
I don't think they meet the definition of a truck.
Of a
because
truck.
they don't have a
The
high-
truck is the tractor trailer.
We would get, I think you get complaints, and like I said, but we've historically always had it as a truck route, East Fifth Street, for example, as a way to go ahead and get to the bridge and go north. And so we do get complaints from some property owners, I think, on East Fifth Street on occasion, that would say, why are we getting excess amount of traffic on East Fifth Street? But it is a truck
I
route.
was gonna say, it's always been,
It's always been
will be
historically,
when-
and that's not proposed to change.
Any other questions or comments?
An ordinance amending section 390.010 and table X1-A of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri. Wessels? Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Yep.
Solentrup?
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for Marquardt Subdivision Plat 3 in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Scornia.
Introduced by Councilman Scornia.
So this is a pretty simple boundary adjustment. There's currently 3 lots here at the corner of Klingzik and 8th Street. This is on the western side of town, on the west side of 8th Street where it dead ends here. You can see how this lot here currently spans the length of the other 2 lots along Klingzik, and they are wanting, it's zoned R1A, so, I'm sorry, R1B, which allows for 6,000 square foot minimum lots. They're wanting to make lot 1 actually the one further north, the larger lot, so move that lot line here. So they're cutting lot 3 in half and making lot 1 bigger, but all 3 are still a little bigger than 6,000 square feet, so there's no zoning issues there. It's still 3 lots, they're not adding any lots, so we do recommend approval.
Any questions or comments?
Is there anything on these lots now?
There was, they tore this house down to build a new one, that's why they want it to be larger. They did just get building permits for these lots. I don't know if they're completed, but we did issue a building permit for new homes there.
Yeah, I don't know where they're at.
Yep.
Any comments or questions?
I think all 3 of those buildings are down now.
They are all down, yeah, okay. So we just issued a building permit, or the second one over here, so that has already begun, but they wanted to demo that north one, I know, so.
Klingzik Lane, is that where like Schulte's Bakery is?
Yep, yes, yep.
Yeah, the houses are gone. There's a new one there already.
Yeah, yeah, there's gonna be 3 new once it's all done.
Okay.
They just wanted to make this lot 1 larger.
I think the new house is on lot 3, isn't it?
I believe so. We've already issued 2 permits, so I couldn't remember which one.
Lot 1 and 3 have houses on them now.
Okay.
Anything else?
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for Marquardt Subdivision Plat 3 in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Wessels?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Yep.
Solentrop?
Yes. Just a quick verification. If there's already 2 new houses on these lots, why are we doing this now?
Because they want to make lot 1 larger.
Yeah.
Oh,
This has
okay,
nothing to do with the
okay.
home. This is just to smooth the property lines.
Take the back half of the one off.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
So just a little fun fact for today. This morning at our department head meeting, Tom Neldon, our building official, reported that we have done 365 inspections this month. Pretty good.
Quite a bit.
That's a lot.
How does that compare to, not last year, but typically, what do we typically do, you know?
It's typically around 12 to 15 a day. So if you do the math on that, I mean, you're looking at output of 18 to 20, so do the math on that. It's a lot. I mean, we're
I
running,
mean, that's a whole lot.
we're running.
Cow.
So,
Is that commercial and residential?
Yeah, it's scattered. I mean, you're talking occupancies. That's all of them lumped together. It's just inspections in general.
yeah.
So some of them could be 15 minutes. You know, I don't want to say they all take an hour, but we are scheduled tight. So if there's any concerns or you know, that we're not getting the things fast enough or the schedule's booked up, well, there's a reason.
No talking too long with them.
That's move.
But that's a lot of moving around, you know, I mean, they are on the go.
So like a rental may have more, will repeatedly get inspected.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, every time there's an occupant change.
Right.
But there's probably homes and businesses in with this as well, so.
Yes, there's all kinds of
A
inspections.
busy department.
It's been very busy.
Kudos to them, keeping it up.
If you get a chance to watch Blake get it with Equinox, it's quite comical. He's a big guy. Blake.
All right, that's all I have.
Yeah.
City Administrator's report.
Just a reminder again, next month we'll be having some more discussions about the budget. I plan on giving you at least some highlights to kind of digest on August the 2nd at the workshop. But then we'll have a special budget workshop on August the 16th at 6 o'clock. And so we can jump into the weeds a little bit deeper at that time. And then also another item that we will have in the near future, hopefully, is our employee handbook or whatever that we've been going over the last actually 2 years. We just got our first round of legal opinions or comments on those. And so we'll probably be looking to do a special workshop for that as well, because there's a lot of changes that are in there, and you guys will have a lot of questions probably, because that's probably not a section of the code that most of you probably like to read at night or whatever. So we'll be happy to go ahead and go through, tell you, explain, this is what we currently have, this is what we're proposing to do. But we anticipate we're going to need a workshop for that in the future as well.
A lot of good changes.
Yes.
Positive
Yeah, positive
change-
changes,
positive
things
changes.
things that need to be done, things that need to be brought up to current employment practices, put it that way.
Positive change.
Council comments?
Do you have something?
No, you got executive.
I have one, well, when she gets to that, I was going
Oh,
to, we have one, I have one small quick
One
item for you. in
small
exec-
item in executive session. So, anyway, anyone have any comments? Guess not.
City Attorney's report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Wessels?
Aye.
Pettit?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Holtmeyer? Reed?
Yep.
Solentrup?
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, council.